it's another sad day in unelectable land.
Yep,
We've
it
lost a
is.
legend.
It is with a very somber note that we start this latest webisode. Um,
Ruth
2020
Conda
has struck
forever.
again.
Ruth Conda.
Ruth Conda. Yes. Well, the Supreme Court Justice, Associate Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away on September 18th. You know, we're recording tonight just shortly after we've found out about her death due to cancer, complications from cancer. There was some speculation that she officiated a wedding recently that maybe she caught COVID and there was some kind of role that played. But I mean, it's the speculation about her passing. She was 87 years old. At any rate, she was probably not long for this earth.
Yeah.
So, and she was. I mean, we're both former law school students, and there's no way to go through law school without knowing all about the accomplishments of Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Hmm.
Starting even before she was in the Supreme Court, there's a whole movie about this where she fought for what we call
Notorious.
well,
Hmm.
it's called on the basis of sex, and it
Oh,
established intermediate scrutiny as a review
yeah.
for constitutional analysis.
She gets all that praise. She didn't even get strict scrutiny, huh?
Yeah, I mean they came up with a new standard for her between rational basis and strict scrutiny, right? So,
Yeah.
and that's what they ended up using as a basis for LGBT
Hmm.
discrimination as well.
Yeah. I don't know what her deal is, man, because I feel like she's um kind of reminds me of like the Liz Warren school of politics.
Yes,
Maybe not even that cool.
I mean,
Like Nancy
I think
Pelosi.
she turned out looking more to the left than she originally did. She was appointed. She was, what was it, the second woman appointed, right,
Oh,
after Sandra Day O'Connor.
yeah.
Yeah, so she was appointed by Bill Clinton in the '90s, and yeah, she was sort of a real symbol for the left flank of the Supreme Court, with Antonin Scalia making up the figurehead for the right flank of it. And if just from remembering from the casework and all those other things that I would read between the two of them, I always thought they were at each other's throats in these
Yeah.
deliberations. And
Yeah.
yeah, it turns out they were like best of friends and
Yeah.
all the. So
Yeah. Well, like she had a couple bad decisions even this year.
yeah,
Like people praise her for like standing up for like the social issues, but she,
yes,
was very pro corporate, a lot of the other stuff, and kind of was complicit with a lot of these sort of the modern regime where it's sort of putting all of like our corporatocracy. She was instrumental, just as instrumental as she was for providing like women's rights and eliminating discrimination on gender. She also was complicit in
hmm
putting the modern system as is. So she's obviously, it's just like, it's the shit livery, right? It's like the
yeah. I mean,
like
she was really one of the major figureheads of what you would call shit liberty. Now,
yeah,
I really
she's like
don't want to.
shallow.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Here's the thing. I really don't want to go ahead and sound like whoever Trump goes and tries to put on to replace her isn't going to be demonstrably worse.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
want to make it like that
No, because he'll
because
put some psycho on there.
yeah, he's definitely gonna try to put some psycho, but yeah, losing RBG from the court is huge. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a major shift for the court. It's gonna be a generational shift for the court. And a lot of these social issues that she does get credit for, and I think on this issue, likely rightfully so, it changes the potential for what they're able to do. It just does. You brought up when we were messaging before the show, Matt, that they're not gonna go and overturn Roe versus Wade. There's no real incentive to do it. But if they wanted to, they could.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely could. But I think they would probably do like what the Roberts Court has done.
Mm-hmm.
They've come down on the side of where the majority of the country is on a lot of the social stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but have kind of done that to give them credibility so they can pursue, pipelines through the Appalachian Mountains and
Mm-hmm.
crap like that, like, limiting liability and, like union rights and all kinds of shit that is, you know, not more important, but, very important stuff. And I mean, it's, it just sucks because it's so hard to get, like, the courts are just so right wing now, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
just so hard to kind of fight that back. And it really would have been, I mean, it would have been huge to get her replaced with a young, I mean, just not even, we don't like, not even like a liberal judge. It's just like the Overton window is so far to the right that,
Yes. And in
somebody
that
who's not
respect,
a freaking evangelical, end times maniac is,
mhm.
like Kavanaugh is so fucking crazy, right? Like he's like Pompeo, like they're like,
Yeah.
legit, like, apocalyptic.
Yeah, I mean, even someone like Gorsuch is probably to the left of fucking Kavanaugh,
Yeah, no,
you know,
Kavanaugh's
and
like, you know,
and Gorsuch is such a tool himself.
yeah, they're,
He's the one that let that dude die in the was it the truck? The trucker was saying that you should let the truck driver die if he's freezing to death or something like that. He voted in the court case about that was the thing to do. I mean, and it's just um I guess the way I want to say it is
everything is so shitty. Like
it
this
is. I
is
mean, it
another
is,
shitty.
and but the way I want to say it is because one of the major things that they brought up, the libs always bring it up, and to saying you have to vote for Biden, you have to vote for Biden because we need to protect the Supreme Court. RBG needs to retire so we can go and appoint a replacement. I
Mm,
mean, we're at that end time. We lost RBG. They lost RBG. You know that whole point. It's come up, and regardless of where we are now in terms of Bernie this past election, the seats for this were laid out 4 years ago. That's
yeah,
it. That for us going with Hillary and just having a weak ass candidate to go against Trump, that's what we get here. Then it's what you said.
yeah.
Fuck around and find out. This is fuck around and find out, but this is
Well,
4 years after the fact.
yeah, exactly. This is the kind of thing where it's like the Democrats have been running on not as bad as the Republicans since the
Yes.
90s,
Yes.
and that's been their whole strategy is to, go for that, try to fight over the same 40% of the country or whatever. And
Hmm.
it's been a dumb strategy. We've been saying all along it's a dumb strategy, but they've managed to like maintain their credibility, at least with a good chunk of the electorate. And while they've been drifting to the right and trying to basically, like, I don't give them a good faith reading. I think
Hmm.
they're doing as little as they can to sort of throw bones to their base, like, oh look, we protected your right to have an abortion and under
Right.
these conditions. Oh look, like, you can't be fired for being gay. Like, they've done such small sort of tokens to the base that, I get frustrated with liberals. Everyone does, because they are just so, I don't even want to say gullible. I guess gullible, right? Or so credulous, right?
I mean, it's just so shallow in their
Like yes,
thinking is what it
queen,
is.
and yeah,
But having RBG out the picture now, and you think about all those kinds of things, those little, like Gary's saying, these tokenisms. But what does a country look like without them?
well, like I mean, I don't know. Like that podcast I sent you, that
Hmm.
Brianna Joy Gray and Virgil Texas new podcast. They were discussing this with what's his name, Osita.
Hmm.
I forget his last name, Noehu or something. Um, and he was saying, and I think I agree with this. they've gotten to the point now where they've already sort of pared down the government as much as they can get away with. They've done away with the laws that they don't like. They have the precedent set so they can get away with pretty much anything they want.
Mhm.
Like more like if they fuck with Social Security, if they fuck with Medicare, if they start trying to get rid of more of these government programs, it's going to start eating into stuff that their base, enjoys, right? It's not going to be, they've already starved public schools, they've already starved healthcare, they've already starved all these different areas of government, concern. There's not a whole lot more they can do without, you know, uh, screwing over their contingent as well, right?
Mhm.
So I don't necessarily think they want to do too much more. Like I don't think they will overturn Roe v. Wade. I think they'll probably more do stuff. They'll focus on the pro-business stuff. They'll do stuff like make
They,
it easier for like
but you
for-profit
see,
colleges
yeah,
and
but
charter schools and
for that stuff though, they didn't need to have RBG out the way to get those things done.
it's
You know,
true. But
so I wasn't worried about them doing major shifts to the right on social issues until until today.
I mean, but they
And
just had the opportunity this year, right, to fuck over LGBTQ with a major precedent, and they
Mhm.
didn't take it. So like,
What was the vote on that?
I think it was 5-4, right, or 6-3.
5-4.
One of them was 5-4, and one of them was 6-3. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it was Roberts. Roberts sided with the liberals, right? That's why
Yeah,
the
Robert. There was
Chuds
one
hate
of
him.
those LGBT cases that Robert sided with the liberals on the court, but without RBG on the court, with those how many 5-4 decisions have there been now? And then you're talking about giving Trump a third spot. I mean,
Like
not.
they
I mean,
can't
do a
they
lot of
can't
these.
let them do it. Like
All right,
Merrick
so
Garland aside,
we kind
they
of
can't. Like
so
that's the thing
like
that they've been doing
hold up.
though.
So
Like
so
that's
then
the
we
promise they've been making.
so we kind of had our reaction to her passing now, but now this is where we kind of divide a little bit. Where I'm feeling like they're just gonna hammer a pick through. They're gonna get one in before November. That's where I'm at. I legitimately I legitimately feel they're gonna they're gonna do this at breakneck speed and try to replace her before the election results are even in. That's what
Also,
they're
the
gonna.
government's going to shut down. There's another. They have to pass another spending bill too.
They'll pass. You know what? They'll do whatever they got to do just to be able to get this seat
But then,
filled.
like, I mean, it took 3 months to do Kavanaugh. Like,
And we're
and
right
that
there
was
at three
fast as
months,
shit.
and and look, the lame
Like
duck
Chuck Schumer
session.
shouldn't let it come up to a vote. Like I don't know
No,
the
no.
rules, what they can do, but there's ways to filibuster. There's ways to block that,
I
and the
mean,
Democrats
they've
have to do
nuked the
that.
filibuster,
Like
so
that's the one thing they've been doing. There's still the procedural, right? Isn't there? There's
like I think they're gonna go and turn out every trick that they can do to stop this from coming to a vote.
I don't
And
see. I think they'll come to an agreement, right? I don't think they're going to make them fight it out, right? Like I don't think they're going to make them go through. Like I think they're working on a deal, right? I think that's what they're going to try and do, because this is like the thing that the Democrats are supposed to be able to do, right? Like this is the thing they've been promising to their base. Like they don't do shit. They don't do healthcare. They don't do college. Everybody's drowning in debt. The military budget goes up every year. The cops are murdering people. The fucking climate's burning down. They say, "Oh, but the court picks," right? Like that's the one
they've
thing. Like
approved
they
every
basically
federal
promise,
judge
like
that
they
Trump has
promise two
appointed.
things though. Like they promise like reproductive rights and of diversity or whatever you want to call that, right? Representation, like
Hmm.
those are the two things that they protect, right? Those are the two guarantees that like liberals run on. Like when I get mailers from like my local like aldermen and shit who are all just you know Rahm Emanuel type Democrats, the things that they promise are protect a woman's right to choose and um, more women prison guards or whatever. Like those are the two things they promise. And if they can't do this, if they can't deliver at least the opportunity, to have after November I feel like they're going to blackpill a lot of liberals. Like, I mean, that's the kind of thing. It's like I'm not going to say I'm an accelerationist, but like the possibility of motivating the liberals to seriously get on the streets is enticing, right? Like, not that I want that to happen,
but
but
you know, this
it's a nice
also
silver lining.
but this also does entice right-leaning people in the country to go out for Trump and get this seat.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I think it's a win-win for the Republicans, right? Like, they can either try to force it through and get their judge and just accept losing the at least this, they'll lose seats, right? Like, they'll definitely lose seats if they force that through objections. I mean, I'm not positive which ones, but that's quite possible they'll lose the Senate and the White House, and then they'll be fucked. But I don't think the Democrats want to undo anything. Like, you've heard Joe Biden's plans. Like, he doesn't even want to undo the tax cuts. Like, he doesn't want to undo the EPA regulations and stuff. Like, the military budget, he said, will keep going up. There's not a whole lot they want to do, which is why I think they could come to a deal, right? Like, Chuck Schumer doesn't want to undo any of Trump's policies, right? Like,
I don't think he does either. Okay, so here's the word from Ted Cruz, who was, by the way,
the Chuds are going to act like that. They're going to find a way to blame it on the Democrats if they don't force it through.
So by the way, Ted Cruz was on Trump's short list apparently to be on the court.
Well, then
oh my God, we're so fucked.
He couldn't vote to confirm himself, so that's one less vote the Democrats would need to stop it. They need 3 votes, right?
We are so boned. Okay, so here's Ted Cruz. I believe that the president should next week nominate a successor to the court, and I think it's critical that the Senate takes up and confirms that successor before Election Day.
Of course they're going to
run. The nomination is why Donald Trump was elected.
Yeah, and he already got 2 nominations. But like they're going to act like that. That's what they do, right? They're going to act all gung ho about it, and then once they come to a deal, they're going to be like, "Oh, Nancy Pelosi, she promised to like open an abortion clinic inside every church or something like that." Like, they'll make up some sort of story like, "Oh, she promised to have BLM like burn down the state house or something." Because like they're already doing that, right? Like, they're already complaining about violent liberals and stuff. So they would totally do that. And like Ted Cruz, he's not up this November, right? Like, he's going to pretend that he wants to fucking stick it to the Democrats, and he's going to, be like, "Oh, no."
Mitt Romney did come out and say he's not going to go and vote for a pick.
Yeah, that's 1 down. They need 2 more. Like I said, and then
I mean, I still think I don't think all the
is vulnerable.
But I don't think that what's his name? I don't think that how can I say it? I don't think that the Democrats are gonna hold rank on this either.
You think what, like Manchin and Sinema?
Yeah.
No way. Because they have cover, right? They can cite the Merrick Garland thing, right? So like, they are actually the like, integrity would be with the people who said no, like, we're absolutely not. The election's in 6 weeks. It would be a perversion of justice or whatever for us to try to force this through. Like, so that would be it'd be very hard to defend that position as somehow being like in the right. So
here's the word from Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, the turtle. The Senate and the nation mourn the sudden passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the conclusion of her extraordinary American life. Justice Ginsburg overcame one personal challenge and one professional barrier after another. She climbed from modest Brooklyn upbringing to a seat on our nation's highest court and into the pages of American history. Justice Ginsburg was thoroughly dedicated to the legal profession and to her 27 years of service on the Supreme Court. Her intelligence and determination earned her respect and admiration throughout the legal world, and indeed throughout the entire nation, which now grieves alongside her family, friends, and colleagues. In the last midterm election before Justice Scalia's death in 2016, Americans elected a Republican Senate majority because we pledged to check and balance the last days of a lame duck president's second term. We kept our promise. Since the 1880s, no Senate has confirmed the opposite party's presidential the opposite party president's Supreme Court nominee in a presidential election year. By contrast, Americans reelected our majority in 2016 and expanded it in 2018 because we pledged to work with President Trump and support his agenda, particularly his outstanding appointments to the federal judiciary. Once again, we will keep our promise. President Trump's nominee will receive a vote on the floor of the United States Senate.
Yeah, that's clearly bullshit. Like, their base will buy anything, so that portion of the country is just going to go along with it. But I mean, I think it's too risky for them. I do. Like I said, they'll find a way to blame it on like the woke mob or something. They'll find some way to blame AOC or some shit, right? Or like Antifa or something like that.
I think that, look, if you're gonna go and get control of one branch of government, I would pick the court. I would pick the court because you can control that thing for generations.
And I don't think Joe Biden will do any of that shit. Like, I don't think they'll nuke the filibuster and expand the court like people talk about, right? Like,
no, even if that's strategy. Right. If they go ahead and they if McConnell goes and forces through a pick, they'll lock up the court. And if Biden does end up winning, which is still the best case scenario in this situation, Biden winning and having a Supreme Court pick forced through probably in the lame duck session at latest is probably, in my mind, the best case scenario. Now, if that happens, in all likelihood, maybe they'll lose the Senate, maybe they'll lose Congress, and they won't control the presidency, but they'll have the court.
I mean, Kavanaugh should be impeached too. Is the other thing. Like,
they're not gonna. I mean, he should be impeached. They're not gonna do it. It's not gonna happen.
That's why I think they'll work out a deal, because it's like the stakes are pretty high. Like, if they retake the White House and both houses, like, they can fuck with the Republicans a lot, and they're petty. They'll do petty shit, right? If they want, like, they'll, I don't know what exactly they would do, but they would force like critical race theory onto the curriculums and stuff, like shit like that. Yeah. And they can at least threaten them with that.
What I think is that they don't give a rat's ass how hypocritical they'll look.
No, they don't. But they'll go back on every base.
They won't need to. They won't need to. I mean, they won't give a rat's ass.
They have so much. Like, think about like during the impeachment, like how much shit they didn't bring up just because they didn't want to expose themselves to it. Like, they could do stuff that, if they really wanted to play hardball, they could probably, put out enough. Like, if they actually wanted to fight, like they were, like the way that they fight the left, if they actually wanted to do that, they could fuck with a lot of the Republicans. I
think they could. I think they could if they decided to fight like that, but I don't think they will.
I mean, the base is going to be pissed, and it's not just going to be the left, right?
No, this is going to. I mean, this is everything. This is fucking with people's brunches.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's going to be a problem. But I mean, it's. I don't think that I've never seen the Democrats really fight Republicans like they fight the left. And on top of that,
I think that
I don't think there's anything holding up. I don't think there's anything holding up Republicans from doing what they want other than shame.
They have no shame. They're calculating. Is it worth it for them? Because I think that they'll lose if they do.
So this is what I think. Okay, absolutely best case scenario with this, Trump is going to do a pick, but he's going to pick like a moderate, like a right-leaning moderate. There's like a compromise pick.
There's some lady's name I heard thrown out there, like like Lisa Marie Varick or something like that. Like, she had 3 names, something like that. But an anti-abortion zealot. Like, that's
Yeah, I
so
don't think
fucking,
though.
like, I really hate that abortion is the issue with these people.
And look, that's really what
Like,
it comes
such
down
a
to. Okay,
fucking
so
lame
so
issue.
let's play the nightmare scenario out. If Roe versus Wade gets overturned, what would be the implications? Do you think we would actually see the tangible implications of that? Because we've seen some anti-abortion laws go
Yeah,
through on a bunch of different states, and they've been trying this stuff for a long time.
it would just be like what it is now. They would have the southern states would, ban it or severely restrict it, and it would just make like a, gray market or whatever in like the northern states kind of thing where,
There
you know,
was some crazy stuff about, obligations to reimplant ectopic pregnancies,
yeah, that's what I'm
jailing
saying.
doctors,
Like,
jailing women. These are
that's what
things
I'm
that
saying.
are,
I don't think they actually want to do that. I think they wave that shit around for the base because the
uh-huh.
fucking psycho chuds love that shit. Like, they're fucking abortion perverts. Like, they get off on it. And I think that they like dangling that. Like, that's what they dangle,
Right.
like whatever they do for the libs, same thing, right? Like, they don't dangle the libs, they just threaten the libs. Like, oh, the Republicans are going to do this. And the Republicans actually have to, you know,
Hmm.
present some sort of benefit to them, right? Like the border wall or banning abortion, shit like that. Like, so
Well, I'm going to read this. So,
I'm
Justice Gin,
agnostic, really. You know,
well, Justice Ginsburg's last wish apparently was her
yeah,
most says her my most fervent wish is that I will not be replaced until the new president is installed. And the reaction from AOC I have here was we have lost a giant in the history of our nation with the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It is heartbreaking that her final moments was, as are many others, preoccupied with what would happen after her passing. I want to
mhm.
make one thing clear: we can and must fight. Bernie went ahead and he quoted Lindsey Graham
Yeah, so
when talking about Merrick Garland. If an opening comes in the last year of President Trump's term and the primary process is started, we will wait until the next election, which I don't think they're going to follow through. And then finally,
no, they already said they
yeah,
weren't.
yeah. So the passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg is a tremendous loss to our country. She was an extraordinary champion of justice and equal rights, and will be remembered as one of the great justices in modern American history. So, Trump even wasn't a complete ass when he reacted to her passing.
Yeah. She just died? Wow. I didn't know that. You're telling me now for the first time. She led an amazing life. What else can you say? She was an amazing woman. Whether you agreed or not, she was an amazing woman who led an amazing life. I'm actually saddened to hear that. I am saddened to hear that. Thank you very much.
Ballerina, you must have seen her dancing in the sand.
I don't want to really mince any words here. I kind of feel from my perspective, we were kind of fucked with this, and we
Yeah.
gotta kind of adjust to the idea of, you know what, we're gonna be able to go and rant and rave and protest and whatever else we're gonna be able to do. But the Republicans, at the end of the day, they control the Senate, and
They control the fucking country. They
yeah,
control everything. Like,
yeah.
this,
But
the
in
fucking
particular,
Democrats are
in
like
this
a
case,
phony opposition party,
yeah,
and there's not a whole lot they can do unless they're willing to completely go against their style for the, in recent memory, post 9/11 at least. Like,
hmm
they've just been complicit. Like, even during Obama's time, they did, they laundered all their right wing policies through the seemingly progressive Democratic administration,
yes.
and which was their plan for Biden. But I don't know, man. Like, I really don't know. Like, I think it'll be chaotic. But you're right. I mean, end of the day, there's not much they can do, and they probably won't do much. And we're, going to be living in a theocracy, before long.
I think that's kind of the question that's up in the air in my mind is how far will they take that judicial power? And
Yeah.
I think it extends beyond just extending the reach of the already, like how you said, they've extended the legal reach for a lot of things in far as capitalist interests. I think it's gonna be the social issues because that's the only
Yeah.
thing left.
I mean,
I mean,
it
I
would be
could.
completely. I mean, it's also the other thing too is like it would be completely retrograde compared to the rest of the world, and
Yeah,
we'd be moving in a deliberately regressive direction. Like it's
exactly.
very hard to like spin that as a positive development, like for this whatever,
For our
like,
standing in the world, absolutely.
and just for like how much of the country is evangelical? 20%?
And
Like how much of the
30% of the
country?
country is pro-life.
Yeah. So is there any kind of rationale where their decision should dominate the direction the country goes in? Like
In that sense, about 30% of the country is not in favor of Medicare for all either. And
but that's different. It'd be like if we already had it and they were trying to undo it,
so yeah, I mean,
So
I
like
suppose that's true, but
you'd be trying to
I
undo a
think it's
popular,
yeah, I mean, I think it's just a matter of what
it's so fucking
what they're
sick
willing
too.
to go
Like
ahead and do. But I mean, it's a shame that we even have to contemplate a world where these kinds of things can be overturned if that's what their agenda is going to be.
well, I think I mean, I don't know, man. The fucking it's not like they can outlaw it, right? They would have to pass a law to outlaw it federally, right? It would just
Right.
be taking away
A state, well, okay, so remember, there's two ways that you have to raise a constitutional question, or it has to be, that whole subject matter jurisdiction thing, right? So if a state goes and implements a law that can
yeah,
challenge the constitutionality of it, so
yeah.
then in
So
that sense, then it can be overturned. It's
it's
the
an
same thing as,
unjust burden.
Bowers v. Hardwick or anything with Lawrence v. Texas, which also are in jeopardy. Let's face it. Let's
Yeah.
face it. Lawrence v. Texas is on the table. Oberfeld v. Hodges is on the table.
Which
These are.
ones are those? I don't know any of these case names. I just
Oh, come
remember
on,
if you start telling me the
come
details,
on,
I
bro.
remember it.
Where you at? You're supposed to be my legal brother here.
Say which one is it? Just describe it, and I'll remember.
The Oberfeld v. Hodges. That one's the gay marriage.
Oh,
And then Lawrence v. Texas was the one that made it illegal to put a law in that prohibited sodomy, so gay sex.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember that was Bowers that was the one that outlawed it, and then Lawrence overturned it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't think they'll do that. I mean, there's a lot of gay Republicans anyway. I don't know though. It does seem like there's less gay Republicans now than there was even a few
Probably.
years ago. Yeah, we're fucking drifting in the fucking rightward direction, man. Like even like the Republicans are so fucking right now, and the liberals are just.
But one of the reasons I didn't really I haven't really concerned myself lately so much with social issues is because not only are the economic issues more universal and more tangible as far as what changes actually get made, but because we have made a lot of strides in terms of some of these social policies.
Yeah.
And having all of those at risk of being undone, it's something that really is that people should be considering, and people should be kind of wondering if it could be done, and if it will be done.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I still think. I mean, I don't know if that's the optimistic position or not, because I think it also spells dread for us. But I still think they will try to maintain that as the carrot they dangle and come up with some reason for why they can't, pursue that. And it's not like even if they have the court still have to wait for a case to come up, like I'm sure there's cases they could do now, but I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? What do I know? I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. I think it's fucking dark,
it's
man. It's even darker than it was. Like,
I think it's a scary situation, man. I think that's the best way to go ahead and sum it up, man. It's bad. I wouldn't say any part of this of losing
I
RBG
just
is good.
like, I mean, I don't know. I have a hard time not blaming the Democrats too. Like,
I of
it's
course, I
like,
mean, and I
like I said
blame.
about the phony opposition party.
Yeah,
That's what I
look, I
keep coming
blame
back to.
Democrats because I mean, let's face it. If Bernie was the nominee in 2016, he would have beat Trump, and we would not be in this position.
Yeah,
Bernie would have
I-
been the one appointing 3 judges. Imagine.
but not even that though. It's like they've been a fake ass fucking workers' party, whatever they're supposed to be. They've been a
Yeah.
fake opposition party, and they've been lying about it for so long, and they've been gaslighting the fucking base into thinking that they're a liberal party when they're not. Like they are where they are Bush Republicans, and then the Republicans are now like QAnon psychos. Like
Yeah,
that's the state we're in now, and I blame them. They
but I guess
didn't.
well,
They
this
were cultivating this right wing base these last 30 years instead of activating and energizing their own half of the country who is getting fucked every day and every night, and these assholes are just fighting over this 10% of these far right psychos, and that's what they did to the country. It's their fault.
Yeah.
Like the
And
whole time during Obama, they fucking bent over and they pretended they weren't bending over. So nobody understands this, and they think that they're just fighting real hard, and the Republicans are just so powerful. Like, what do they fucking think? Like, why do they think this shit keeps happening?
I don't know, but well, I guess the last thing I wanted to let's see. I guess the last thing I wanted to go ahead and ask you about. For me, I blame the Democrats for their shitty politics. And I also blame RBG for not retiring when Obama got elected in 08.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's face
maybe
it.
not in 08, but after he won in 12. But I think like what the
Yes,
Merrick Garland
definitely by
thing,
12.
I think she would have announced it if Scalia hadn't died, and that precedent hadn't been set that McConnell was going to block anything. I think that was probably her plan, right? Was to do that for the end of Obama's time, and then she got screwed, right? And had to put a nice face on it. But I don't know. Like, I also think she liked it still. Like, I don't think she really necessarily wanted to retire.
I don't think she did, but I think it was the right thing to do at the time.
Yeah.
I don't think you stay on the court for that long unless you enjoy
the
it.
Lifetime terms are fucking insane, right? Like, the whole rationale is they don't want to make enemies for later on in their career if they leave. They want to be impartial.
The idea is that Supreme Court justice is exempt from the political bickering, but I mean that's not reality.
No, it's so politicized, and I think it's always been politicized.
Of course it has. Has. And
it's just the state of the country. The fucking hyper partisanship is dangerous and not contemplated by the founders in any sense.
Yeah, and I mean, okay, and I do think that if Trump goes ahead and wins, that the left has a better shot in 2024. If Biden goes at one term, I think I still give a left candidate a shot, but
I don't know, man. I think it'll be. I kind of agree with the liberals a little bit that another Trump term will be disastrous, and I could see him extending term limits, like appointing his successor, like any kind of crazy
I can
shit.
see.
And if they have the majority, the supermajority on the court and the House and all that, they can get away with it. And the Democrats, they didn't fight for so long when they could have fought, and now they're running out of options if they have any left. It's not much they can do, man.
What I was gonna say though is,
but they get running Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton, two immensely unliked people.
Well, what I was gonna say was that even if we get a left candidate in earliest by 2024 with a court like this, what are the options?
I mean, what would the court do? What they're gonna like?
Remember, the power of the court is basically to determine what the Constitution says. And you and I sat through enough law school classes to know that you can legally make a rationale out of just about anything if you try and you put your mind to it enough. So if a left candidate gets in office, I mean, I would expect them to do what the FDR Supreme Court did when he was in office and try to shoot down as many of his policies as they could get away with. So
But the thing
that
about that too, I think, is that if we say we get Medicare for all, right, and somebody
right,
challenged it, some Aetna or whoever sues,
yeah,
it would take a while for that to get through the courts to work its way up to the Supreme Court, and in that meantime, people are enjoying Medicare for all, and then the court's going to try and undo that when 300 something million people, like, they would literally be taking away your health care and then force
right.
everybody back onto the private market. That's a fucking shit show, and I don't think they could pass that ruling. I think they would have to, like, they would
They,
find some what they
the,
would do. Here's what they would do. They
uh,
wouldn't undo that. They would have the taxpayers pay off the insurance companies. They'd give them,
okay,
like a lifetime settlement or something for all
maybe,
the missed business or something like that. So, I mean, I'm not as pessimistic about the court striking down left-wing agendas in the future, because I also think they can also craft it in such a way, if they actually have super majorities, if we actually have a left takeover, right?
hmm
I feel like they can implement the laws in such a way that it minimizes the opportunities for the court to take it down. But like we said before, I'm much more concerned about them chipping away at existing stuff that wasn't crafted in that way. The precedents are
yeah.
flimsier. Like we already said, like abortion, charter schools, military, probably like border shit, immigration stuff. What else?
Creating leftist, gulags and throwing us
Yeah,
into
that's
camps and then overturning
yeah.
quorum or going and
Expanding the
doing a
Patriot Act.
Korematsu like
Yeah,
decision.
exactly. Like expanding the Patriot Act to, like, designate, like, DSA as a terrorist org or something. Like
Yeah.
stuff like that is what I'm more worried about. Like, I don't so much think it's also more like, the immediate concern is existing freedoms, not future freedoms. It's just like I said, if they start chipping away at too many more, like, I'm sure plenty of Republicans get abortions. I'm sure, like, and I also think that a lot of these states, they don't want to admit it, but like, if they, outlawed abortion, they had all these new births, these unwanted pregnancies. I don't know if, they'd have to expand like the, CPS and all that to be able to take in all these new orphans and,
No,
it.
I mean, I don't think. I mean, it's a thing that we've always said when it came to Republicans is they don't give a rat's ass once the baby's born. Once
I
you
know,
have,
but
once you,
yeah, but if
they'll they won't give a fuck. I mean, they'll
I
throw
know, but
more.
they still have to pay for raising the kid, though, is the thing. They're going to have to pay many millions of dollars extra every year raising however many unwanted pregnancies they now have to take off mother's hands,
Mhm.
you know, like, and all the indigent healthcare service. Like, a lot of these women, like, they get abortions because they can't afford to have a baby because it's 60 grand or whatever to
Of
have a
course.
kid. So
So,
that's a
but
lot of, they're going to have to pay for that. People can't afford it, right?
yeah,
Like, they're gonna have to
but
expand Medicaid. The Republicans were never truly against abortion. It was always an issue for the base.
mhm.
Back in the day, during the Eisenhower days, when abortion first became a procedure, the Republicans were for it because, just like we said, they didn't want to have to pay for shit. That was their rationale back in the day. The Southern strategy, the abortion came with that. That was their thing for the base. For they activate the evangelicals, you make abortion a wedge issue. That was a planned strategy, right? Like, that was part of their thing. So I still don't think they would actually undo it, but they definitely want to fight about it. Like, they'll do state by state laws and keep challenging it until, just make it a culture war
One of
issue.
those state laws that they brought up would not only make it punishable by imprisonment to have an abortion, it would also make it punishable to go to another state, have an abortion, and come back.
Yeah, that's not gonna, but not even the far right court would be able to justify that, right? There's no reading of any kind of law where you could say that that was permissible. No, I don't like our odds,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Well,
but
all right, everybody. Think that about wraps up this webisode.
yeah,
Once
be
again,
afraid, be very
Ruth Bader
afraid.
Ginsburg passed away dead at 87. and the pick is now in the hands of Trump and the Republicans.
Yeah, we'll see what they do, man.
All right.
All right, later.
Later.